Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the DJI Mavic Zoom 2, and everything you see on this particular video will be shot on this, other than some possible B-roll. So a few things to note. This is a few years back that this came out, and I paid $1,125 for this. So it's a pretty expensive drone in today's age. You can buy some pretty awesome drones for this cost. And yeah, the main reason why I bought this was at the time I was doing a lot of car videos, and yeah, I wanted to see if I can get this to shoot video of me shooting cars and just following it. And since I'm a one-person team, I kind of wanted it to do all of those things itself without me having to do it. So, oop, it lost me. And you might hear a little bit of buzzing in the background because this thing is trying to track me, and it is not the greatest at it, let's just say. That's me, go. All right. So now it's back to tracking me, and it should be following me as well without me really having to do anything with this. So let's talk some more about the specs of this. So it's probably gonna shoot the back of my head, so. So as I mentioned, this came out a few years ago. This thing can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second, which is pretty nice. I wish it was 60 frames per second, but there we have it. It can shoot 1080p up to 60 frames per second, and, or sorry, it can shoot 2.7K up to 60 frames per second and 1080p up to 120 frames per second. So you can get some semblance of slow-mo, but I probably wouldn't use it. Now, the premise of the Zoom, which is nice, is that with the, well, it has a smaller sensor, so it's 1/2.3 instead of a 1-inch sensor, which the Pro had at this time. And the other thing that's really nice is that, again, you get the zoom. So you get, at the moment, 24, and then you can zoom in up to 48 millimeters. So that gives you a really good range of something if you can't get any closer to it. So that's something that I think is really nice. So let's move you over here. It's trying its best to fight this wind, but oh, let's swing you around the other way. So yeah, what I thought about this was that with this camera, it would really help me shoot some dynamic video, and to some degree it has. I think for the most part it hasn't really done what I initially thought it would do. Sorry, with the gloves on, it's not really great to control this here. So let's put this back over this way. So I think the premise was, okay, some extra dynamic shots, and this will be really helpful and really cool with how I'm able to shoot things. And again, to some degree, it has been really great, and to others, not so great. So as you can see right now, it's not exactly doing what I want it to do, but I think there are some other drones for the price nowadays. If you're spending something like $1,100, $1,200, you can definitely get a Skydio 2, which would probably do something more so what I would want it to do. But again, I think the cinematic aspect of what this drone can do is maybe a little bit better. So again, it's now following me. I don't really want it to do this. I want it to track me so that it's going backwards, but because DJI sort of dropped the software on this one and started working on other drones, I think today's drones can actually do this. But with the old hardware and the fact that the fact that DJI is no longer really supporting this drone, there you have it. So, but let's talk about some of the cool things that this can do. So it has 2 sensors basically in every direction. So 2 sensors forward, 2 sensors on the bottom, 2 sensors backwards, and 2 sensors to basically go left and right. So it has all the sensors that it can use to essentially avoid any items, but I think those particular cameras aren't super high resolution like a Skydio drone. So that's one of the, let's say, that's one of the possible issues that this thing has. But I think I took this on our honeymoon to Hawaii. I took this to a lot of different places where we can actually see some really nice, whether skylines or landscapes. It does a really good job with that. And I think overall the picture is really good when you have decent lighting. And honestly, if it has tough and harsh lighting, it does even a pretty good job there too. You can see right here how it's doing, and I can zoom out and sort of see how it's doing with the dynamic range with the shadows and what have you. And I think overall it does a really good job, but in general, you know, it's a consumer drone, and a consumer drone is only going to do so much. And I think you could do some really good professional working stuff with this drone. It does a really good job. And like, for example, if I were to run, it can do a pretty good job of tracking me as well. So that's something that's really nice too, is that if I run, the APAS, obstacle avoidance and whatnot, can do a really good job of following me and tracking me. Sometimes. Just lost me. This thing's supposed to be able to fly for about 30 minutes. I bought the package which essentially just had the 1 battery, and I've really not had an issue. Now, I'm not doing this professionally. I just do this kind of for fun. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a nice hobby drone, and it's not super expensive where it breaks the bank. One thing, durability. Okay, so you might have seen some of the videos. I had it active tracking me. I was riding my bike and it was following me the entire time. And since the software wasn't advanced enough with the hardware and whatnot, it ran into a tree and it fell down. So that happens, and I think with that happening, it's still able to fly, and the drone has not really lost a beat. It's just been doing its own thing, and it's still flying perfectly, not having any issues. So I swear, this active track thing is just goofy. So yeah, I think to some degree, it's a very, very durable drone. I've gotten it stuck on the roof for a few days in the tundra that is Chicago. And yeah, didn't have any issues with that. So, have to say, it's super durable. DJI built a really durable drone. So honestly, I think in terms of a brand you can really trust, I think DJI is probably one of them. And quite honestly, I don't know, thinking about what I've been doing in drone flying, I don't like, with all the restrictions that they end up having, it's, you know, in national parks that you can't fly them in, it's been kind of tough to find out places where you can actually fly it. So that's probably one thing that I would note, is that if you're actually looking into this, you're doing it professionally, that's one thing. But if you're doing something where you're just doing it as a hobby, you probably just don't want to buy this. You probably just want to buy a 360 camera instead. Like, it's just probably not the best thing to do. I think again, you're probably just not going to use it that much, and yeah, it just ends up being a waste of money. Like I think a 360 camera ends up just being a better investment when it comes to that. So with that said, let's move on to the controller. The controller on this I really like, and the reason why is because it's super compact. Now, you do have to use your phone, so that becomes a problem, because if you're using your phone and your phone runs out of batteries, you can't fly it. So yeah, it gives you a view, and it's supposed to have, you're supposed to be able to fly this drone like 5,000 meters away from you, so like 3.1 miles. So that's super crazy. And the general rule of thumb is you're not supposed to fly this thing out of sight, so you shouldn't really fly it 3 miles away from you. But yeah, I think that's something that's really cool, is that, you know, with the connection that they have with this controller, you can fly it 3 miles away from you. But yeah, if you fly it out of sight, like over a building, you might lose signal, and it might cut out and basically just fly home. So it does have smart features like that, where it can fly home and do all this other things. But what I liked about the controller specifically is it's really easy. You get these little thumb things, and then you can package it away nice and easy. And compared to the one that they have today with all the drones that they have, it's so much better and so much more compact. So good on you, DJI, for making this, but not so great on you because you no longer make this controller. And they don't also make the controllers like cross compatible, so the new controllers that they make can actually be used with this with this drone. So that's something that's really annoying too. So yeah, I think overall it's a good drone, but it has really nice smart features, and sometimes the smart features end up kicking you in the butt. Where I got my drone stuck on the roof, it basically wouldn't fly off the roof because it was like at an angle. So yeah, there's some smart features that end up shooting it in the foot, whereas like an FPV drone can basically just try to fly whenever, and this one can't really do that. So I wish there was a setting that you can actually override that and just try to fly it regardless. But yeah, it has those sensors. It's very, very intelligent. It's easy for really anybody to figure out how to fly it, and yeah, fly it safely. So I would say this is a really good drone. If you're looking for something used, honestly, just buy a newer one that has the better hardware and better software and probably a better camera. So, but overall, I've had a really good experience with this, and it's been, you know, I don't know, like four-ish years. So yeah, I think coming along, there's a lot of new technology that they've been coming out with, so that's been really cool to see. And honestly, I can't say anything more about a company where I've just had to replace the propellers, and it's ran into a bunch of things and it's still been able to fly. So that's been something that's been really cool, and it's really cool to see, like, you know, the parts are really not so expensive, and you know, it's been easy to clean out the drone, and actually no maintenance to it really, other than propellers running into things and breaking. So yeah, with that said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And yeah, let me show you some B-roll to give you an idea of what this thing can do. With that said, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.